After you've created the layouts for mobile phone, tablet and desktop, you can start applying other styles to your Fluid Grid layout. It would take too long for me to show you every step of styling this site, so in this lesson I'm going to concentrate on the basic principles of styling a Fluid Grid layout. Let's first turn off the guides and restore the document window to full size. The window size menu here, full size. In the Sources pane of the CSS Designer there are two style sheets listed. The first one is boilerplate.css. This is inserted automatically by Dreamweaver and it gives you some basic styles to start off with. Normally you don't need to make any changes there. The second style sheet, in this case it's called fluid.css. That's the name I gave it when I created the Fluid Grid layout. This is where you make most of the changes. And when I select fluid.css, you should see in the At Media pane that it changes. We have global, which is outside all media queries, then only screen and min width 481 pixels, that's for tablets, and only screen and min width 769 pixels, that's for desktops. These are the two media queries. But there's no need to repeat every single style inside these media queries. Most of your styles should go in this global section outside the media queries, and they'll be inherited by the tablet and desktop. The purpose of these two media queries is to create separate styles for tablets and desktop. So to create a new style rule which will affect everything within my Fluid Grid layout, first make sure that the fluid.css is selected, then select global in the Add Media pane. Then you can create a new selector. So I'm going to click the plus button and I'm going to create a selector for H1, H2, H3. So in other words, to affect the top three levels of headings. And I'll go to the text section and I'll set the color to hash 577A 99. Then I'll set the font family to Source Sans Pro and change the font weight to 600, and also align the text to the center. Notice that while I have this selector selected here in the Selectors pane, in the At Media and Sources panes, Global and Fluid.css are displayed in bold. That's indicating that's where this particular style rule is defined. Currently the font size for this level 1 heading is just the default, which is normally 32 pixels. I think that's fine for a mobile phone, but I want it to be larger for a tablet. So I've got fluid.css selected there, and then I'm going to select this media query here in the Add Media pane, the tablet media query, and you can see that the document window changes to the width of the tablet, so you can see what's happening when you create new styles. So I need to create a new selector, which will simply be H1, and it's for some reason lost that. Let's just find it again, and then in the text section, font size, set that to 40 pixels. But I want that to be larger in the desktop size, so I can right click this selector and then select from this menu duplicate into media query. When I mouse over that, it shows me the two media queries that are available. It's the second one I want. So if I select that, the style rule is automatically duplicated with all of its properties. So if I now select this media query and then go down to the properties, there is my new H1. If I open that, go down to the text section, and I can increase the size of that from 40 pixels to 48 pixels, and it is now increased in size. But if I now turn on Live View and then go to the different sizes, there is the tablet size, there is the mobile size, and there is the desktop size. So the font is a different size in each one. One point that you need to be particularly careful about when styling a Fluid Grid layout is adding padding or margins to any of the fluid elements. If you do so, you knock out the calculations that Dreamweaver has made for the correct width. So let's just quickly go out of Live View and turn back on the Fluid Grid layout guides, and I want to go into the tablet layout and then scroll down to this intro article. When laying it out, I decided to make it 7 columns wide in the tablet layout and to shift it 1 column away from the left hand side. The problem is that this is a margin on the left hand side, and it's also a margin here, so I wouldn't be able to put a background color with it that stretches right across the page. So let's change that. I'm going to click in there and shift back to the left hand side and resize so that it's the full width. But my text is now too wide. If I add padding to the fluid article, the width will be wrong. So the solution in this sort of situation is to create a margin or padding on either side of the non-fluid element that's inside. So I'm going to select fluid.css and this media query, and I'm going to create a new style rule for #intro space P, so it will be for the paragraph, and then I'm going to make the width 80% and the margins on both sides auto. And that basically has the same effect of leaving the column on the left and the column on the right. The difference is that I can now add a background color to this and borders which will stretch right across the page. I need to do something similar for the desktop layout, so right click, duplicate into media query into the other one, select that media query, find the style rule intro P, and the width I'm going to change from 80% to 600 pixels, and it looks a mess at the moment because I still haven't changed the layout here, so I need to shift back 2 columns and then resize so that it's the full width, and I have a similar effect there. So the key to styling a Fluid Grid layout, or in fact any web page that uses media queries, is to understand where your styles need to go. In the case of a Fluid Grid layout, most styles need to go in the global section, in other words outside all media queries. Use the media queries for tablet and desktop only to create extra styles that you want to apply to those particular layouts. And when a selector is highlighted in the Selectors pane, the At Media and Sources panes display in bold the source of that particular style rule. I also showed you how to speed up the creation of separate rules by duplicating a selector and its existing properties into a media query.